This is JJ Humphrey. We're on Elephant in the Room. Hey, it's great to have you guys join us. I've got a very, very special guest. Now, before we get going, I just want to tell y'all Bob Cleveland was supposed to be on here today, but can you believe that March Madness is going on and that Bob would rather watch a basketball game than come on here and talk with me? I swear, Bob, if you're watching, you got to get out of that sports. He watches that March Madness like nobody's business. He's glued to the set, which I got to say there are some pretty good games on that are enjoyable. But today we have got an awesome guest. This is a guy that I got to know probably 2 or 3 years ago. Got involved with. He actually gave me some of what was going on in his case and looked at that and agreed with him and ended up writing a judge and kind of got in a fight with the judge. Me and the judge had a little words back and forth and thought that case was taken care of. I thought it was all said and done. And then it got back opened up by what I would say is an improper judge. I don't even think that she has a place to be in the case. Anyways, I don't think that she's a special judge. And so if it's above a certain dollar amount, I don't even think she's supposed to be involved in that case. But anyway, she's opened up the case, and now she's wreaking havoc on my buddy here, Wade. So I've asked Wade to come on and just talk about what's going on in the court system. Guys, our court system is just debunked. I mean, I don't want to act like every court in Oklahoma is bad, but man, when you get a bad one, they can just ruin lives. They can make your life miserable. So Wade, just tell us a little bit tell us a little bit about yourself, how this case started, what's going on, and kind of bring us up to date where you are today.
Yeah, so basically, it all started with married and didn't work out. Got a divorce, and the divorce proceeding happened in California back in 2016. And so it was actually November of 2016, and we hired a couple of attorneys. Nothing abnormal. We hired some attorneys, and we came up with a marital settlement agreement. So everything was in writing. It was very clear. We said in our contract, it said, "Hey, this is a binding contract, independent of court approval, but it also was approved by the court by a judge in California." And so he incorporated our agreement into a court order, and it was also a part of the dissolution judgment. So um, all was good. I upheld my end of the deal. And actually, through the process, because I left the house to her and the equity in the house and stuff like that, because that was the decision I wanted to make as a father to make sure my kids were being taken care of. So she actually had breached the contract early on, and she did not get my name off the mortgage like she was supposed to. So I worked with her and never sent her to court, never got ugly or anything like that. I actually helped get the documents and help get my name off of it because my credit was being hit pretty hard from that. And then after that was gone, I remarried, she remarried. We kind of, no issues. We went on our separate ways, but she found herself in a divorce proceeding with her new husband, and she got one of those attorneys that he was a commercial attorney. a commercial collections attorney, and he thought it was he thought it was I guess beneficial for his client to simultaneously attack me during their divorce proceeding that he was helping her with between her new husband. And it was kind of interesting, JJ, because if you go back and I know you've seen these documents, but she was both rich and poor at the same time during the same month in front of the same judge in California. It just depended on what proceeding and what benefited her. So, for example, she filed a request for order to modify our contract agreement, and she was, help me, I'm poor. And then when she was asking for money from her soon to be ex-husband, she was like, hey, we make all this money and I'm entitled to half of it. And so we kind of called that out and stuff, but what really happened and what was devastating to me was her collections attorney. He got the state of California involved through child support services under Title 4D. And so that first proceeding after she filed the request for order to modify the contract, um, she wasn't there. Her attorney wasn't there. I show up, I'm blindsided, and now I'm litigating against the state of California. And I don't even know why they're there because she's not on public assistance. I was not late on my obligations. I wasn't in arrears. Everything was kosher. But then it just the floodgates opened up because I'm litigating against the state of California and now her from the sidelines because she just wants more money, right? And so that kind of escalated into a lot of back and forth. They wanted to see everything that I had. They wanted to dig through everything, and they were just using social media clips because I'm on commercials. They were just kind of using all of that as leverage, going, "Hey, we know you got all this money, and it, you need to pay more, and yada yada yada." And so basically, it led to me being personally threatened by an attorney from California that worked for the Department of Child Support Services. She told me that if I did not show up and agree to a new contract term between me and my ex-wife, that she would personally find she would do all she could to have me found in contempt of court in Oklahoma. And flash forward, that actually ended up happening. It was litigation after litigation after litigation. They tried to hold me of contempt of court of this alleged new agreement, and the new agreement, they said, "Hey, Wade volunteers on changing his child support obligation from $1,300 a month to $7,000 a month." They said that in this document that they're wanting to um, put me in jail for is that I also agreed to instant arrears and of $30,000, and I would pay her attorney fees for $40,000, a California attorney. Well, they did all that. I said, "Hey, this is crazy. I'm not agreeing to any of this. I didn't have an attorney on this date that you said it happened. I didn't sign the document. You're supposed to, pursuant to your own rules and stuff. I should have signed this document. I should have been presented with this document. That didn't happen." And they said, "Oh, well, it happened on Zoom." I said, "Okay, then let me see the Zoom recording." And then they were like, "No, we're not going to show you the Zoom recording because government code 69957 says that we could just record just to administer and watch our employees." And so I'm being held accountable for this alleged agreement, but there is no evidence anywhere of the actual agreement. So
Well, if they can only use the recording for that, then why are they using it against you? And if they're going to use it against you, then don't they have to show it to you, to verify? No, just take our word for it, And
yeah,
again, hey, I'm not taking their word for anything. You know what I'm saying? And so
right.
again, here's what we wanted Wade to come on. We have done a lot of stuff on DHS and CPS and APS, which are Child Protective Services, Adult Protective Services. Man, those without question are a disaster, and there's problems. But what we've not talked about until today is child support. And again, the child support runs through DHS. And I've just come to conclusion, and I want to say out there, I mean, I know good DHS workers. I know good DHS workers, and I've worked with some DHS workers. But I will tell you, in the last 4 to 5 years, my gosh, the department has just, I mean, they're a disaster. And again,
Yeah.
they're not hired. They got too many administrators, and too many administrators that don't know what the crud they're doing. And then you turn around and they don't have enough workers. The workers they have are not trained. They're over, they got too much. So they just go out and they become these tyrannical, you do what I say because I said do it. I'll take your kid if you don't do it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they threaten everybody. And then the court allows them to get by with it. And the court just, whatever the DHS says, whatever this one says. And then you go to court and, well, Your Honor, they don't have any evidence. They don't need any evidence. They say it happened. We're going to just do that. And people go, well, no, that's not the way it is. Well, that is the way it is. I mean, start going to court and start finding out. So the first judge, I can't remember her name. This is all out of Tulsa, right, Wade?
Yes, Tulsa County. Yes, sir.
So you went to the first judge, and again, this was already settled. If I remember right, this was already settled in California. Now you were having some problems with the child support division from California, but
Mhm.
but just because you moved here, did she move here also?
No, so the back history, I actually met her here in Oklahoma. We were married in Oklahoma. We actually had our first kid in Oklahoma. We moved to California because her family, they own a large garbage company in Modesto. So
Okay.
we moved there for better opportunities. That was what was presented. But so yeah, I moved. I had to, obviously, after the divorce, I had to move back to Oklahoma. I actually lived in Oklahoma while we settled everything back in 2018. So I was always showing up, I was participating. It was not a scenario where I left to avoid something. That was not the case here.
Right, right.
Yeah.
How
And
many kids are we talking about child support on?
three.
Got 3 kids.
Yep.
Okay. So, and basically what they come up with, they said they wanted you to pay $7,000 a month. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Well, so that's what they negotiated, and they said if I didn't, the attorney for DHS or DCSS, which is their DHS, she said if I didn't agree to modify the contract, and she was going to not only hold me in contempt, but they were going to make sure that I was going to pay upwards as $9,000 a month. They JJ. I'll have to give you that recording because it's nuts. It was almost like I call it like it was almost like an auction. It started out at $2,800 a month, then it went to 4, then it went to 6, 8. If you don't show up, 9, and then she was threatening me with contempt, which is incarceration. So um, I've done a lot of studying on Title 4D, and Title 4D, they're there for public assistance. They're there to recoup the taxpayers' money. And so the issues here was, in my experience, you have a private attorney that was leveraging, and they were able to leverage a state organization that's governed by local and federal tax dollars to be their litigation partner against me. That's really what this was at the end of the day, because the other reason they would have been allowed and they would have had authority to come in on my case is if I would have chose not to pay child support pursuant to my agreement, right? My
right,
contract. If
right.
I
And,
said,
and that's what people need to understand what you're talking about when you're talking about Title IV.
yeah,
If I understand right, I don't want to act like I'm any well versed in all of these things that I talk
yeah,
about, but as a probation officer, I dealt with a lot of people who were fighting child support, or we'd had to try to, I was constantly having to call child support and go, look, let's set this up. Let's get something that this person can actually work with, because they would go nuts. So, I mean, they would just go crazy.
Yeah.
They would have people who, making like $1,900 a month, and they'd want $800 or $900 a month. And it's like, well, by darn, I mean, how's this guy going to live? I mean, he's got to pay rent. He's got to pay his gas. I mean, I'm not asking him to eat steak every night, but it does take some money to buy some bologna, and
Yeah.
so they would just basically say, that's his problem. And again, your kids live on the scale that I wished I'd been born into the banking system. You know what I mean? I wished
Hmm.
I'd born with the golden spoon. I got that copper spoon, but I also look around and there's people who's got a wooden spoon. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
there's always people, but you got to live within your means. So if you made a $1,300 agreement, and that's where you was at 1,300. I mean, did your income increase did your income so greatly increase that would be justified? I mean, how would they come up with that, Wade?
It would not. Yeah. So no, my income did not increase that drastically for it to cause any of this. And going back to the factors, why did they get involved? They said that they were providing services since 2017. And so I mean, they don't know what to do at this point because they realize they messed up, right? I
So
wasn't
when you
late.
say they're providing services, so generally when we're talking about that, they're
Yeah.
providing like DHS services to the mother, so the mother's drawing some kind of welfare or something. I mean, that's generally the way they get involved, is because they had to pay, so now they're going after the father,
Yeah.
saying we paid here, so now you're responsible for paying us back, the state back, because we had to pick up your loss. Now, if she's getting $1,300 a month, just child support, I mean, of course, I know that don't go as far in California
Yeah.
as that could, but again, that's a pretty healthy sum. So,
Yeah.
was she on child support? I mean, not child support, but was she
No.
drawing any kind
No.
of services?
No, and a matter of fact, so going back to like when she was going through her divorce, she swore under penalty of perjury that her and her current husband, he inherited a $1.5 million company during their marriage. So now she says, California law, I own half of that $1.5 million business. Also, we make $50,000 a month roughly in net income. And so 25 of that was hers. We're talking, she said $25,000 a month is, well, that's what was entitled to her pursuant to what she swore under in her declaration to him, right? So we don't have an income disparity. We don't have anything going on. I wasn't late. And according to our agreement, again, because I gave her the equity and everything that we did in our contract, that's why we set the dollar amount because, hey, I'm going to give you a lot of this in the equity in the home. And we kind of did things that would set them up to where they could live a comfortable life. Right. So,
So,
the
so just
whole,
so everybody understands, and not everybody's going to understand what you're talking
yeah,
about, equity in homes and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Guys, they own a home together. The home was worth so much. Say the home's worth 500,000. They owe 100,000 on it. The house has 400,000 equity. He's going to walk away giving her $400,000, and then they're going to make a deal, say, because I gave you $400,000 up front in that home, so you don't have to move, so you don't have a whole lot of problem. Then, and she's still going to have that mortgage because there's still $100,000 to pay, or whatever it was.
yeah,
So she still got the mortgage, but she's got $400,000 worth of equity, meaning if she wants to sell that home, walk away, she's almost $500,000 to the good to go get something else or do whatever she wants. So in
mhm,
order to get that, that's part of this agreement that he's talking about. And so again, that's a lot of money to pay, and we're giving hypotheticals, so we're not
Yeah.
talking about, but still, when you give the equity in your home and you walk away from all that money, that's the negotiation saying, okay, I gave you X number of dollars in equity and you kept all this property and you kept other things. So it wouldn't just be that thing. There would
Yeah.
be other things in this agreement. I'm giving you this, giving you this, and giving you this, and I'm going to pay you $1,300 a month. That's a private agreement between two people, divorce agreement. Okay. Now,
Yes.
again, if she gets stuck on, child, on DHS, on food stamps or something like that, you will
Mm.
see DHS come back and try to say, well, she's now broke and these kids are your responsibility. So they will try to come and do something, but to try to attach, when you've already given that amount of money, they can't just blow that negotiation off. They can't just, so there was an
Exactly.
agreement made, and for them to walk in and start saying we're going to do this, and again, that agreement was in California, correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah, and it
so,
was governed under California law. Yeah.
right. And so, again, that's where you need to go back because that's where the case originated. Now, both parties agree to move it to Oklahoma, to state of Oklahoma, you can. But if not, again, my understanding, you would have to go back in to this divorce courts, to the civil courts to resolve this. Now, is that not what I mean? Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I wrong on that, Wade?
So you're not wrong, pursuant to what I was told by a judge. So you know, I'm litigating California, Oklahoma. The first early on, the private attorney in Oklahoma tried to take it to the child support docket. She said, "Hey, this is a judgment. I don't do that here. It's a judgment. We do child support orders. Judgment goes downstairs." I think that downstairs is like civil litigation. That's how I understood it. But yeah, there was a judge that said, "Hey, we don't do that here. This is a foreign judgment." And so she even said, "I don't have authority and jurisdiction over that."
Right. Did,
So
did she put anything in writing on that, or did she just say, You're at the wrong place, go on"?
So the first time she did not put it in writing, and it was all verbal, and it just kind of killed the deal. And so his proceeding, and so she did, however, put something like that in writing later on. It was like September of 2024 because the private attorney told the judge he lied and said, "Hey, I kept saying, you guys don't have jurisdiction. Like, I'm litigating this right now in California. Like, we have proceedings set. It's ongoing in California. So I don't even know why you were trying to hold me in contempt in Oklahoma." And I think this was the second attempt of contempt in Oklahoma. I said, first, I was held not in contempt in California. There's a court order says I'm not in contempt, but everything's regulated there. And so yeah, she just kept pushing it forward. And then I said, I challenge jurisdiction. And then she's like, okay, what do you have to say about that, counsel? And we're in child support docket, right? The state's supposed to bring this action. She doesn't look to the state's attorney, she looks to the private attorney. She's like, well, what do you have to say about jurisdiction? He was like, well, the Oklahoma Supreme Court, because I had an appeal going on, he goes, the Oklahoma Supreme Court says that you do have jurisdiction. They issued a ruling. And I was like, what? I haven't seen this ruling. He's like, yeah, it just came out. And I'm like, okay. And luckily that day I had court watchers there, a few senators and representatives and some private investigators were there as well, sitting in on this case, watching this day. And I had people that witnessed him telling the judge that Supreme Court ruled that she had jurisdiction. They wrote affidavits and said, no, I did witness him say this. And then I went and looked at the docket. The Supreme Court has not said anything like that. It's still pending. And so she issued a 16-page order putting the entire case in administrative abeyance, putting everything on pause until she got some sort of mandate from the Supreme Court stating that there was jurisdiction. Well, that never happened because my appeal was blocked, and the court clerk from Tulsa County refused to give me a full and complete appeal. I had 16 items that I designated to the record were missing. And so basically for people that are listening, so you have a docket, and they'll have like, hearing one, two, three, four, right? And you circle the hearings that are relevant to your argument to show, hey, this is where they messed up. This is the errors that they made. Please reverse it.
It's called a
Well,
court history. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So what you got, you can go to OSCN, pull that up, and what you're going to look at is you can look at the court history, and it will tell you, okay, the initial hearing was done here. It was continued. This is what was done. There'll be a court order. Sometimes on that OSCN, you can't open the court order and read it, so you have to go down there to the courthouse unless you got some, lawyers can actually sit there and read it, and that's why they're in great advantage, so when you're trying to represent yourself, I know this because I do a lot of I do a lot of this stuff. And so you have to go down there to the courthouse because you can't open some of this stuff. And again, it puts you at a great disadvantage. But yes, you can go at least see. I'm working on a case right now where we dropped a grand jury. You can see where the judge recused. I went and got a copy of that recusal. Quite funny because generally in the court record, what they're going to do is tell you what's going on. This judge says I recuse, and it doesn't say I
wow.
recuse because I was named in it. I recuse because the sky was black today. I recuse because my toe hurt or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
I recuse. Okay, all right. That meets the legal standard. Not great, but it meets the legal standard. But then you've got to serve everybody and say, okay, we've he's recused, and we're moving this to this judge, and we're letting everybody involved in the case know where this case is going. And then that judge recuses, and you have to do the same process. And the next judge recuses, and you're supposed to do the same process. And the law says that it all has to be recorded on that history. Everything has to be recorded on that history. Now, in this case, it's quite funny. We had the first recusal, no service, no second judge, no service, no third judge, no service. And then all of a sudden, another judge gets appointed. So you've went through, three judges. The fourth judge gets appointed. Who appointed her? So you don't even know because it's not on the court history. And you got to go over and look at the assignment where she was assigned the case. And boom, there's the Supreme Court justice's name on it. Only problem with that, he's named in the grand jury. So the judge is ruling on his own case, or he's assigning judges in his own case. And the law clearly says that if they are compromised, if the Supreme Court is compromised, then it goes to the governor. It lays it out in the law, goes to the governor, and the governor will appoint somebody outside, a judge outside. I mean, it's clear enough that even old JJ can read it and understand it. You know what I mean? And that,
Yeah.
that means that, it's got to be pretty simple for me to get it. And so here's what's funny. All of that, but not one thing recorded. And yet, if you were to do something like that, they're going to throw you under the bus. You don't show up, we're going to hold you in contempt. You don't pay what we said, even though there's an appeal on, boom, we don't record because we don't want to, because we're going to hide the crap that we do. And don't think they won't go back in there and change that record. You better be watching real close because them suckers are some cheating. I mean, son of a bucks, boy. You got to watch it like a hawk.
JJ, fast forward, I got the default judgment against me on something that was stricken from the record multiple times. I lay it out perfectly on that video. I have a video on my Facebook page that lays out all four contempt actions that were filed against me for the same allegation. The first one was in California. I was court ordered not in contempt. Matter was dropped. Second one was returned. The third one was stricken twice. The fourth one was for attorney fees only, and it was there was an arraignment on that, but then it was stricken and then put in administrative abeyance. And then so they basically patched these two things together, but they never showed how I was properly
Mm.
served. And so uh yeah, anyways, they just kind of pushed that through. And now, I'm facing 6 months. Well, they said there's a default judgment for 6 months incarceration or a purge fee. And then they take away my they said I need to relinquish my driver's license, which I have a CDL license. So I got to relinquish that. I got to relinquish my business license. I can't have a gun permit, no fishing license, hunting license, all the things that we love and enjoy in Oklahoma. They did all of that for a California resident, as a, how do I put this? Basically, her private attorney was able to utilize and manipulate and use our state agency, because the state agency of Oklahoma, they really didn't participate. If you go look at DHS in my case, they filed twice, an appearance and then a motion in limine. And if you go read their motion in limine, it's very telling, because they said, we don't want Wade saying anything about jurisdiction. We don't want Wade saying anything about what his ex wife made or those declarations that she made about this $1.5 million business. None of that should be said at all. We want to block all of that. We just want to know what Wade makes and what these businesses that he owns. That's all we want to know. And so it's it's something that needs to be looked at. And I think why a lot of people are hiding my case, because I think there's a lot of cases like mine. And I look at it like almost like the Samoan daycare. Title 4D is there to benefit us as taxpayers, right? The people that
Right,
are responsible, making sure that we are taking care of our children and our children are not on public assistance,
right.
right? So we're not taking away from the system. My case example, I'm not at all taking it away from the system, but my ex was able to utilize the system against me to attack me as a leverage point in litigation. So, how many other parents out there, and JJ, when they're going after people that owe money and stuff, who's the first ones to go? Who are they going to hammer the hardest? The people they think they can get some money from.
Oh, absolutely. I know people who owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they ain't even, in fact, I've got a niece that her ex, left her high and dry. She had to pay all the bills. She paid everything. And then guess what? He didn't pay a dime child support. He'd been married before, hadn't paid a dime child support. So they're going to court. He's still owing child support over here. Guess what? Nothing. He shows up and they're wanting to, well, you need to drive the kids up here to do visitation with him. Why should she have to drive the kids when he don't even pay child support or doesn't do anything? And that went on for years. They were finally able to adopt those kids, her new husband, and that, the problem's now resolved. But again, it was just and what really on that one was just a rogue, out of control judge. And when they were able to get out of that situation, I actually went and protested. This is quite funny. I went and protested down there where that judge was, and we filed on the judges. And then I went back and said, "Hey, Judge, I don't think you ought to have my niece's case because you know what I'm saying." And she agreed. She said, I'll recuse out of the deal." I said, "Awesome." She's actually pretty nice to me. She wasn't nice, and I know all kinds of people that she's been pretty ugly, but she got along with me great, and was very pleasant, and just recused immediately. I think she just didn't want to she just didn't want to have me out there hollering and screaming and making a lot of noise. I think was what let's get rid
Yeah.
of Humphrey. But guess what? They transferred it. After they transferred it, everything went just like it should have went, just like it's supposed to. And again, that's the difference between a court that follows the law and follows the rules. And again, nobody's asking not to follow the rules. If the wife wants to bring him back in there and wants to try to negotiate stuff, then they need to look at something and go, no, this is non-negotiable. When you settled it because of all the money he paid you up front, that's settled. This is a contract. It's going to stay $1,300 because it wasn't just a child support issue.
It wasn't a support order. Yeah.
No, it was a child support issue. It was a contract into many other things being part of this contract. Child support being one issue of the contract. And now she was drawing child support, TANF or whatever, then maybe they could come in. I mean, that's an arguable thing. But when she's not even in that system, you've made a contract. There's really nothing to, and again, anybody worth their salt ought to be able to look at that and be able to see that. And for this to have to go through. And so you had one judge saw that immediately and said, hey, this is not the proper place for this, that we don't have jurisdiction. No. Then you got another judge that went through it and finally got to the place where that was closed, correct?
Yes.
And then here comes this other judge
out of nowhere,
that the thing was closed. And I wrote the first judge here in Oklahoma, and I wrote her a letter, and I thought that it was done. And Wade's trying to catch a flight, so if you need to go, Wade.
Yeah, I got like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
But Wade, we wrote that first judge and we said, hey, and she got a little snippy, but that all got handled, and we think we're done. And now this is a special judge, correct, that has opened this case. And special judges, do you know what? I couldn't remember how much. They're not supposed to go over a certain limit, are they? I mean, it's like
$10,000.
$10,000. Okay, I thought it was 7. I didn't know it's 10. Okay, so she's not supposed to rule on cases of 10,000. I don't think that can she actually put you in jail on a
civil matter
on that.
I mean, I don't know. At this point,
there's a little thing called the Constitution that I like to talk about. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, and a lot of people, man, they try to be. I'm not. Listen, but the Constitution, I think it's under Fifth Amendment. We'll see. Go pull me up and see if OJJ knows what he's talking about. But it's talking about due process. It's talking about that you have the right to due process before they can take life, liberty, and property from you. Your life, liberty, when they put you in jail, they've just taken your liberty, okay? They've just taken your freedom. And when they start trying to attach hundreds of thousands of dollars, now they're taking your property. And so, again, you have to have due process. You have to have a hearing and in front of your peers. And again, for a special judge who's only supposed to rule on $10,000 on a case that's already been closed, on a case that is not her case, it should be a civil matter in California, and yet now you're under threat of being arrested, being put in jail, and being fined a whole hell of a lot of money, correct?
Yes, and the purge fee of $300,000, and I don't know really what that means. I think I assume it means, hey, if we get you in handcuffs and you don't want to go to jail, or we put you in jail for a little while, and we're going to try to steal $300,000, which I don't have $300,000 just sitting around to stay out of jail. So I'm going to be spending time in jail, right? In this instance. So yeah, you have all that. I was not notified. They did all of this through a status conference. And so that's how they revived this case that was closed, disposed. They held a status conference twice. And
Were you notified? Were you notified of that status conference?
I was not.
So
Nope.
they had a hearing without you. And again, guys, when you're having hearings, everybody has to be served. That's why they had to be served. That's why I was talking about a while ago. For them to cover that up or for them to not do that is grotesquely wrong, because here's the deal. You have to be served or you can't be there. How are you going to be in there to argue your side? How are you going to be in there to defend yourself if you're not even aware that they're having a hearing? So they're having a hearing, and they call that ex parte, really, because that's a hearing between. Now they're going to say, oh, no, we said it. Okay, where did you serve him? And then you're coming into a hearing and you're only having a conversation with one side. I don't care whether you call it a status hearing, whatever. You're having a hearing with one side, and it was designed to be that way. So you're using the court. They call that, boy, I tell you what, I've been saying this a lot because a guy kind of enlightened me under the color of law. So it's, you're using the court system to break the law and to hold one party guilty that really is the innocent party. And they've got the court system working against you in this whole system, whether it be child support, whether it be child protective services, whether it be adult protective services. All of these services are just set up to where, I mean, they're just bulldozing over people, bulldozing over their rights. And again, who do you go to? And the appellate court and the judicial complaints. Have you filed anything with judicial complaints?
Yeah, actually, I filed judicial complaints against the judge. I have not heard back from that yet. I have
You want me
filed.
to tell you my opinion, my assessment of judicial complaints?
I think it's a joke because because Chris Banning actually got me to talk to one of the ladies in charge of the judicial complaints, and she
Taylor
already knew all
Henderson,
about
brother.
it was actually, yeah.
I'll name her out. And let me just tell you, the term worthless is tits on. I think I could find more use for tits on a boar hog than I can find for them. They're worthless. Yeah. I mean, tell me what they just got a judge up there in Pottawatomie County, and again found that she had totally violated all kinds of things. Guess what? You know what they do? Don't do that again. You quit doing that. And guys, yeah. I mean, they come out and said that she was throwing cases, that she would, if she's mad at somebody, she's mad at their lawyer, she'd make their life hell and get their case tossed out. And this is our own bailiff coming in and telling all this, wrote affidavits to it. Then they come in and go, hey, and she come in and goes, well, I'm not a morning person. Well, bull, don't that make me feel better? You just violated everything about the law, screwed me, but it's okay because you're not a morning person. You know what? That's where we are with our law here in Oklahoma. We got the Supreme Court Justice Dustin Rowe ruling on his own cases, tossing and cases he's named in out for frivolous stuff, tossing that out, assigning his own judges when the law clearly says, hiding all this evidence over here. We've got fraud on the court that we prove absolutely fraud on the court. Guess what? Oh, we're going to ignore the fraud on the court. We're going to ignore kids being molested. We're going to ignore people being raped because, hey, you didn't put this on cardstock. You didn't make it pretty enough, Humphrey. So, guys, this is where we are. I mean, this man is a businessman. He's looking at leaving our state because guess what? Look how he's being treated by our state. He can't live here. Guys, we want to keep business in this state. We want to keep a hometown boy, an Oklahoma boy who is a great, great guy. I know this guy. He's a great, great guy. But he's not going to let people run over him, and kudos to him. That's the kind of man we want. That's the kind of man we want here in Oklahoma. This is the kind of man we need. And instead, we're allowing the court system to run over him because, guys, until we all get together and call the court system out, there's one or two of us trying to do it. I think we will be successful. But, man, we're getting the hell beat out of us. I've had a ethics investigation on me. I'm under investigation now, Wade, for OSBI investigation because I told a DHS worker and supervisor that I would have their sorry child stealing, kidnapping asses, I think is what I said. I talk a little rough sometimes. Maybe I shouldn't talk that rough. But I meant every word I said. I said I was going to have them arrested. Their child stealing, kidnapping asses arrested. And guess what? Do I have the ability to? That has to go through a court. So that's not a threat. I know what a threat is. That's not a threat. That is me telling them, if you're breaking the law, if you're stealing children, then I'm coming after you and try to throw you in jail. Guess what? There's nothing wrong. In fact, that is a very good statement. You need to take the ass out of there probably, but it is a solid. If they're child stealing, if they're kidnapping, shouldn't they need to go to jail? Shouldn't I promise them I'm going to try to put them in jail? I would
Yeah.
think everybody would go, good job, JJ. And the deal is they did return the child. And the deal is we want to know nobody's got these judges, nobody's got DHS. They hide behind that thing you were talking about a while ago. Oh, that's for our internal records, and we can't share that. Oh, that's confidential. That's under HIPAA. Oh, that's an ongoing investigation. And the court records are supposed to be open records. And when you go in there, you can't find them.
Hmm.
That is what's wrong. Nobody can hold these people accountable. It's time we call them into account.
Absolutely. And my case should have been real simple from the get go. They went to register a foreign judgment. I objected. I should have had a hearing in front of my peers. They denied that. They put it in writing that they denied that. Civil Court of Appeals said, yep, you asked for it. You were denied a hearing. We affirm it anyways. And so no one, they like the judges, the special judges, they take an oath to uphold the Constitution. Just asking for them to follow their oath, follow the law, and I mean, it's pretty simple. The contract is black and white. It says, "Hey, we could even if I was paying her more at one time just to make sure. Hey, I was trying to send a signal to her. Let's work this out. The state doesn't belong here. Keep the state and the government out of our business." And I was paying her even like more than I should have, just because a couple other things, and so um, I was trying to sing that signal to her, say, hey, we could work this out and we can modify the contract, but we can't modify it. We have to follow the steps. It says steps one, two, three. This is how we do it. But what you did, you violated steps one, two, three, and now you brought it to Oklahoma, which is also another violation of the contract. And Oklahoma doesn't have jurisdiction regardless. And there's multiple, if you go look in my docket, there's two, maybe three orders, but two for sure, where the judge says, I don't have jurisdiction.
Well, let me
So
ask you this, Wade. Have you filed for a violation of contract in California?
I have not, because I've been fighting for my life in Oklahoma,
I understand,
unfortunately.
but
Yeah.
after I don't know why I have never talked to you, but sitting here and thinking about all that, one of the things that I'm thinking about is just saying, hey, you know what? I mean, one of the answers you may want to talk to attorney because JJ Humphrey will get you in a lot of trouble. You know what I'm saying? He gets in a
Yeah.
lot of trouble, but I would think go back and file for a violation of contract and ask for all that equity money back, all the things back, because now you're wanting this $300,000 over here. You're wanting all of this right here. So guess what? You violated the contract, and I'm going to ask you for a good, and I would put in there, the fact that you violated it, it's cost me this. I've had to go to court. It's been cost me business stuff. I'd include all the real costs that it's cost, and then bam. I mean, I think probably if you'll file that, them suckers will probably backpedal and go backwards. I would definitely talk to a attorney in California. But
Yeah.
again, the bottom line is, and I know you got to go, and I just want to give you one last word. Just I mean, if you can summarize what the court system has been like, what's it done to your life, and where I mean, just kind of going out, I mean, to kind of close us out. You know, give us a
I definitely thought going in there with clean hands and, a clean contract and not ever going against that contract, I thought I was safe. I thought I was in good hands. I thought I was going to go in there. I was terrified, just like anybody. I've never been in trouble. I'm not a person that has a record. I never, first time being in front of a judge and stuff. And so nervous, and just my life is literally um, just based on some words that they put on the paper and sign, right? And so I went in there like a good little boy and went through all the motions, and then I just felt like they were just kind of kept dragging me down the road further and further, just manipulating me more and more. And I found that it's been nothing but attorneys being able to come in there and just play like a lot of word games and just put things on paper to really kind of confuse and muddy the entire process. And I've been abused um, pretty bad through the entire thing. I've had attorneys threaten me, cuss me out. From day one, I've been threatened with jail so many times. It's just, yeah, it's been a nightmare.
Where can they go to look at your Facebook? Because guys, you want to go look at this because he lays all the documents. This is not take Wade Reeves, word for it. This is not take JJ Humphrey, although I can vouch for him because I've actually had him come in and give me all the records before I would write a letter to the judges. And not only has he done that twice, I think now that I've gotten all the records, kind of went through them, looked at them, wrote the judge a nasty letter, wrote this judge. I think I've wrote this judge 2 nasty letters. I won't swear. I'd like to write her a third. I don't have a problem writing a third. But at the end of the day, where can they go to look at that?
My Facebook page, Wade Reeves. Pretty simple. There's 2 of us, so you got to see it's me with my family, my wife Stephanie, and my 2 kids on there. So yeah, if you just look me up on there, I lay it out. It's like the last 3 posts on there, so you can just see there's 2 different videos, but it lays it out.
Reeves.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
WADE. Yeah.
Yeah. WADEREEVES. I'm stepping over you there, Wade.
Yes, sir. No, I didn't want to step over. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
no problem. Hey, I appreciate it. I know you need to go. Guys, we're going to let him go ahead and get off here, and then I'll close us out. Wade, you have a safe trip. Be careful. Brother, we're in your corner. And if you need something, hey, and if you need a good bondsman, hey, I'm always right there. You just let me know. I can help you out.
You're the first person I'll call.
That's a sad day that you had to even have that conversation. But I keep 2 on for myself. I have bondsmen for myself because I figure I'm gonna be in the same boat. So
yes, sir.
Brother, hey, I appreciate you very much, and you stay in the fight. You keep fighting.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you for coming on. Guys, I want to finish up today by just telling you this is why I am running for lieutenant governor. This is one of the reasons we have to do something to fix this system because, again, these stories, I've had story after story after story about these kind of issues. And so whether it be CPS, whether it be Child Protective Services, whether it be DOC, and again, what's going on, whether it be their employees they're firing. I mean, the court system, and again, some of the court systems are great. You get into a good one, and man, it's awesome. But if you get into a really bad one, it's bad. And we've got to take our court system back. The appellate court is just, again, the Supreme Court, out of control, completely out of control. Corrupt. I mean, I'll just call them out. They're corrupt. Our Supreme Court in Oklahoma, corrupt as hell. And the judicial complaints, like I say, best thing to describe them is worthless as tits on boar hog. They're completely worthless. And if you don't think so, let's go pull up what they've done. What are we spending on judicial complaints, and what have they done? I've sent them mountains of stuff on judges that have absolutely, I know others that have sent them stuff, judges that have absolutely violated their oath and are doing absolutely, completely wrong, improper, acting improper, judicial improperness. Guess what? Nothing. And again, you can't even get them to call you. I know they're not investigating when I send them stuff and they never call you back. They never come down and sit down. I know what it takes to do an investigation. And that's why I send stuff, and I often send it open. If you want this, contact me and I'll give you all this evidence. I've got this. Please contact me and I'll schedule an appointment and bring it in there to you. And guess what? You never hear from them. You never hear anything. So guys, that's why I am running for lieutenant governor. And I do want to end with this. I've gotten a little heck for going to an event last night that was a pretty swanky event. And I was amazed that I was even invited to it. I was pretty impressed with where I was at. I took some pictures, one picture with Rudy Giuliani. I thought, I'm kind of a fan of Rudy Giuliani. I mean, I'm liking him. People started calling him a pedophile. I've never heard Rudy Giuliani being a pedophile. That's the first I've ever heard of that. I don't know where that evidence come up with, but people are saying, oh, now you're taking big money. Oh, you're rubbing shoulders. Hey, guys, listen, go pull up my ethics report. Go pull up. I will tell you how much lobbyist money, how much corporate money, all that I got. I got 2,300 over the last cycle. Okay. So when I was a representative from 2-year period, I got $2,300. Now, guys, if you think 23, I was one of the very, very lowest that took any kind of money. And I'd have to go back because one of the things I was doing was I was eating. They provide lunch a lot of times. And so I'd go in there and say, well, I eat lunch, free lunch. Okay, no problem. Well, it turns out that you got this one group sponsoring or you got another group sponsoring. And so we had one of the lobbyist groups that I don't get along with, and they come in there and said, well, you got $800 from this group. And I said, there ain't no way that group sent me $800. I'll promise you, they ate my guts and livers. Oh, no, they did. You got $800. I'm like, where did they give me? You show me that. Oh, well, it's all down here in these lunches they provide you, which I don't think they provided any $800. That's a lot of lunches. I don't think I ever got $800 worth of food. But at the end of the day, guess what I did? I quit eating lunches. I no longer take lunches from anybody up there because I didn't want to be associated and I didn't know that that was it. And I didn't want to be showing that I got that. So the way I solved that was I quit eating any lunches up there. Guys, that's how close I watch it. That's how close I am. I've turned down corporate money. I'm running the cheapest. And here's what's funny. This is what gets me is that everybody says, we don't want nobody to draw money. We don't want nobody. We're tired of lobbyists. We're tired of corporate. We're tired of the sellout politician. But guess what? Then if you're going to get in a debate, they go, well, you have to have $100,000 or we're not going to let you in the debate. And they say, well, you're not a serious candidate if you don't have 100, 150, 200,000. You're not a serious candidate. And guess what? You can't compete with people who have all this money and getting TV time because not everybody knows who J.J. Humphrey is. Not everybody knows you're doing all of these things. So here you are supposed to compete with all these people get money. But J.J., we want you getting no money, but you won't get elected. But we'll be proud of you because you was broke, okay? And then the whole system saying we're sick of this. We're sick of the even up to the president. President will talk about we want to do away with the swamp. And I love President Trump, man. I love he's been a absolute have saved our country, I believe. But here's what he says: I want to do away with swamp. Want to do away with swamp critters. But he'll be the first one to say you got to have so much money or you're not a viable candidate. Well, where's the money coming from? Well, the money's coming from the swamp critters. So you see what I'm saying? He's saying, hey, we don't want this, but yet we're using the system. You're going to have to change the system. And we got to start arresting people who are violating the current system. We got to start holding people accountable, but we have to change the system. The system can be changed. It's pretty easy to change, but nobody wants to change it because it's all about money and people are making huge money off these elections. And that's why we keep getting people who owe the system. They're owned, they're bought and paid for. So that guy who has $1 million in his account, that guy who has $250,000, $300,000, guess what? He owes everybody. Nobody gives you that and expects nothing in exchange. So guess what? They're owned by that. Plus we have 501(c)(4), 501(c)(4), I think. 50. Anyways, there's two accounts. I can't get them straight. There's one account that you have to report $3,500 up to $3,500. And then there's another account where corporate can put in millions and they don't have to report who it is. Now, guys, that is ignorant. And then they say, well, they're not supposed to have any cooperation with that campaign. So again, that's just money out there that can be used to campaign for them, but they don't have any cooperation. Well, if they don't have any cooperation, why do they have the same kind of signs, same commercials, same everything? Everything's the same. Somebody's talking to somebody. So again, this is a system set up for abuse. It's a system that is set up to bring in dark money, big money, abuse, and it's to make sure that people who are owned get put in that system. So again, I caught a whole lot of heck for going to a place where I was invited that, to meet some people that I thought could help me along to, these are movers and shakers in Tulsa that I thought could help get my name out there. Again, you can go look, and I can tell you, you go look at my account and see how much money I'm drawing. I'm very open, transparent. Go look and see what I've got. I'll be the poorest, cheapest, running on nothing. And again, it's hard to get elected. It's going to be a miracle for me to get elected with no money. And then you call on people and say, hey, let's have this, $10 or whatever. And thank y'all, everybody who's given. Thank you very much. But again, trying to do it that way, and that's the slow boat to China, unless a whole lot of people give. And so right now we've got few giving, but not a whole lot of people giving. And so again, I just want to get that word out there, how just people talk out of both sides, and how people will attack you so fast for just going to a place. Hey, I didn't get no money there. I didn't get one dime there. That thing wasn't for me. That thing was not for me. It was for somebody else. And again, and I'm not ashamed that I went there. There were some very, very nice people. I met some great people there. Rudy was very polite to me. I didn't spend a whole lot of time talking to him, but he seemed very pleasant in the little short time I visited with him, and he took a picture there. So again, if that offends people, I hate that for you. But if you get offended over nothing and you're going to accuse him of child molestation when there's nothing there that I know of to support that, then that's on you and that's not on me. So I definitely want to end with that. Hey, I appreciate everybody watching. Guys, we have a corrupt system. That's what we should be focusing on. You should be focusing on who's going to change that system. That's JJ Humphrey. I appreciate everybody and appreciate your support.